This episode is made possible by Sugar Break. I have a confession. I have a sweet tooth, and every year I make it a goal to eat less sugar. And I'm not alone. 90% of Americans are actively trying to reduce their sugar intake. Now, this year, I may actually accomplish that goal with Sugar Break, a plant-based natural solution that helps people manage their blood sugar as part of a healthy lifestyle without completely altering their daily lives or costing an arm and a leg. There are 3 core products. The Sugar Break Resist is a natural minty fresh breath strip that blocks sweet taste in food and curbs sugar cravings on the spot. Sugar Break Stabilize is a pre-meal capsule made with white mulberry leaf, a powerful plant ingredient that helps block carb and sugar absorption and slow down digestion. And then there's Sugar Break Reduce, a daily capsule that helps maintain healthy, balanced blood sugar day in and day out. Of course, please consult your doctor before starting any supplements. Now, for our listeners only, get 15% off your entire order. Just visit sugarbreak.com/dateable and use the code DATEABLE for 15% off. This applies to any products on the site. Again, just go to www.sugarbreak.com/dateable and use the code DATEABLE for 15% off your entire order. This episode is made possible by Drizzly. The 4th of July is all about 4 things: drinks, grilled meats, and shooting off some fireworks before your neighbors notice. What it's definitely not about is missing any of the action on a drink run. Luckily, there's Drizzly, the #1 alcohol delivery app where you can compare prices on the largest selection of beer, wine, and spirits, then get them delivered in under 60 minutes. That's less time than it'll take Dave to get his charcoal grill started. Psh, freaking Dave. Anyway, if you're looking to get the 4th of July drinks without waiting in 4th of July lines, download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com and get your favorite drinks delivered today. And maybe tell Dave to get one of those charcoal sacker things before he burns the whole neighborhood down. The Dateable podcast is an insider's look into modern dating that the Huffington Post calls one of the top 10 podcasts about love and sex. On each episode, we'll talk to real daters about everything from sex parties to sex droughts, date fails to diaper fetishes, and first moves to first loves. I'm your host, Yue Xu, former dating coach turned dating sociologist. You'll also hear from my co-host and producer, Julie Krafchick, as we explore this crazy dateable world. It's time for Brunch Talk. Welcome to a new episode of Brunch Talk, and happy Saturday or Sunday.
Yep. You know, I feel like I normally don't schedule in advance, but because I was away last week, I did all my due diligence, scheduled everything a week in advance, and then fucked up the date.
I don't think anybody noticed. And if you noticed and you got Brunch Talk released to you on Saturday, I don't think anybody would mind that, because people also get brunch on Saturdays.
Yeah, just early brunch
birthdays.
last week. You know, we're back to our normally scheduled programming. But if you happen to see the Brunch Talk early, you know, we might just leave it for you if this happens again. We had one listener, one of our moderators, Tony, was like, I'm going to listen before they realize, because I also didn't write the blurb. And he's like, I'm going to listen quick before they realize and take it down. And I'm like, I love that you're so on it. It makes me so happy.
That's when you feel like you're in the know, right? When you get an episode released early and there's a cryptic description of it and you think, ooh, is this a secret episode?
The best part is Yue messaged me and she's like, is there a reason that Brunch Talk went out early this week? And
I'm like, we have an episode that went live
not
today.
Not by design. And I had the worst reception because I was in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, I can barely have any conversation. Like, anything you could do to fix this until I'm back to civilization would be phenomenal.
Either way, it all worked out, and there you go. Subscribe and follow us, because you never know if you're going to get an episode a day early or maybe a day later. We are keeping you on your toes.
We're just keeping you on your toes. Exactly. It's all by design, not error. No way. Anyways, what I love about this Brunch Talk, it spiraled from last Brunch Talk, and that's, I think, in my opinion, the best way to keep these topics rolling is when you hear something, have another revelation, send us an email and then we're ready to go. This is just keep the convo going.
And we realize that the more we do these, the more questions you will have, because it kind of jogs your memory of, oh yeah, I remember kind of thinking about this. And so it's good. We're here for you all. This is why we're doing this on a weekly basis, so we can capture these questions in a timely manner. And again, you can always email us or send us a DM on social media like Instagram, for example, at Dateable Podcast. Should we get into the question?
Let's get into it.
We set it up already? Okay.
We set it up, we might as well.
A question I've pondered many a times. The question is, is there such a thing as the one?
Oof. Yes, we've all pondered this one. But for more context, the listener wrote in and said, "This is my first real relationship. I feel as if I have nothing to benchmark it to. And the best thing I can do is compare them to my friends' relationships. I don't think I'm afraid of starting over," which was our episode last week, "but more afraid of losing a good thing just because of my curiosity in the future."
Yeah. How do you know if you're with the one when you don't have anybody to compare this person against or any other relationships to compare this against? And my first inkling is to say, the one doesn't come pre-packaged. You can't just like walk into a store and there's an aisle called the one and you just say, I'll pick the purple one. It doesn't happen like that. The one is created in a relationship. So in that question is, does the one exist? The one exists when you create that with someone. But knowing if you are with the one or not, it gets a little tricky when you don't have a benchmark. And I feel like I've been there with my high school boyfriend because I was so in love with him. I felt like he was the one, but I didn't know. I was like a little 17-year-old, right? But I think at the end of the day, if you know what love is, because it's not just romantic love. We had an episode with Sydney from The Bachelor, and she hasn't been in a relationship before, and she is engaged to someone like her first boyfriend, right? And she said her benchmark was just feeling the love in her life from family and friends and benchmarking against that with her current relationship. And that's when she knew that he would be the one for her.
And yeah, I think we always talk about just because you haven't had a romantic relationship doesn't mean that you don't have relationship experience. We all have relationship experience, and pulling from that and understanding what you like and what makes you feel good and what you can relate to in all types of relationships is helpful to also provide that benchmark if you would like that. I definitely used to believe very much in the one, and I think it was more of this feeling, maybe because I'm a romantic, but also just because like that's what you're taught, right? Is you find this person. And even if you're searching for one person, like if you are monogamous and you're looking for this person to spend your life with, that doesn't have to equate to the one. And I think for so long, I mixed that up. And then once I actually found that person and it didn't work out, for years, I like had it in my head that this was still the person.
Yeah.
So I think the one is actually kind of dangerous, because if you think you found it and it doesn't work out, like you can really get stuck. So I love this idea that there are many ones. There's not just one. You don't find love, you create love. And I think the reality is, and this is really scary sometimes to say out loud, we don't know what the future is going to bring with any relationship. Even if you've had hundreds of relationships before, you still don't know what the future is going to bring for whatever current one you're in. Maybe you fall out of love. Maybe someone gets ill. Like it might not even be an issue of it wasn't the right match. Like there's so much in life that could happen. So I really feel like all you can judge on is, how do I feel today? Do I feel like this person brings out the best side of me? Do I feel loved and cherished by this person? Do I feel good around them? Do I feel good about myself? Do I feel safe? Do I feel secure? Like all the things that you want in a relationship, do I feel it? And if the answer is yes, then I think you actually have something pretty freaking awesome and rare. And sometimes it's really hard to know, but hopefully I don't want to say you should take solstice and your friend's bad dating life, but hearing other people share their dating horror stories, listening to this podcast, different things that people would kind of kill for your situation, I think just because you don't have a benchmark doesn't mean that you need to get rid of that. Of course, if you're feeling unsatisfied or unfulfilled, then that's a totally different scenario. But if things are good, but you're just like, is this the best? Is this the one? Then I think that's a slippery slope because everyone's going to have a fault. No one is going to be perfect. And there's always going to be some conflict regardless of who you're with.
There's this notion, I guess that's been created by Hollywood, is that get this feeling all of a sudden, like I'm with the one. This must be the person for me. And some of us, it does happen that way. And for most of us, I would argue it does not happen that way. It does take time and it does take going through life with someone to know if you are with the right person. I know we often joke about Mr. Right versus Mr. Right Now, but I think the Mr. Right Now mentality is the right mentality. Like you were saying, Julie, it's like you only have control over what you're feeling and going through today. You have no idea what the future holds. So if you're feeling like this is right now, it is right for you. The problem with the one is that people feel like they put a lot of pressure on their relationship thinking, oh, I've been with this person for X amount of years or X amount of months. I should have this feeling already. But a relationship is like a plant. You can't just watch a plant and expect it to grow without tending to it, watering it. But if you, let's say you spend 2 years with the plant and you're like, oh, this plant must be a really healthy plant, but you've not done nothing with it, that plant is dying, even though you've been with that plant for 2 years. So same thing with a relationship. The longevity of a relationship actually does not affect the quality of the relationship. So if you are wanting to be with the one, this is a conversation to have with your partner and talk about what does the one mean to you and how can we be that for each other?
Right. I love that so much. And, you know, I think it's a slippery slope to like be in this maximizer culture that we're all in. You know, I feel like Amazon has totally fucked us that you can get anything, anywhere, at any time. And there's always, 2-day shipment. And there's always a bigger, brighter model out there. But I feel like if you do apply that to dating, you're going to just be in a perpetual loop on dating apps and always looking for something better and someone that gets you a little more or is a good fit. It's better to, you know, again, it depends. Like if you have that foundation, that's very different than if that foundation is not there. But all intents and purposes, that foundation is here for this question. If you have that foundation, then how can you work to secure it and water that plant like you were just saying, Yue?
Yeah, we got to keep watering that plant and make that plant our own. And I think it's unfortunate that these rom-coms will show you these scenes of love at first sight and, you know, just I have this feeling about this person that they're my soulmate. I love that too. Julie certainly loves that, being the romantic that she is. But we also have to be realistic and know that when you're doing life with someone, it goes beyond an hour-and-a-half rom-com.
Yes.
So think about that in your relationship. Instead of thinking, is this a person the one for me? Is like, how can I do life with this person? I think that's a better question.
And can you do conflict with this person? I always think back to the Connor Beaton and Vienna Farron episode we did, how to have a healthy relationship. And we ended up talking about conflict the entire time. Because they were like, that is the number one thing. And we learned this from Dr. Alexandra Solomon too. And this was a huge light bulb moment for me, that every couple has conflict. And like if you're just running away from conflict, it's going to show up in the next person and the next person, just in a different way. And the more you can just learn to resolve that conflict and be a team that resolves it, that to me is a sign that you found the one or created the one, because inherently it's combining two people that have different ways of thinking, different ways of doing. Conflict is going to come up inevitably. So can you look at your relationship and say, do I have the skills that make relationships work for the long haul?
Yeah. And speaking of running, the way I know my relationship works right now is that instead of running away from each other, we run towards each other, especially in times of conflict. So if you're looking for a gut check of whether you're with the right person, is in times of conflict or hardship, does your partner run towards you? Are you running towards each other? It's so easy to leave a relationship and say, that wasn't the one. that wasn't the right one for me. But you're constantly going to find that you're not with the right person if you keep running away, right? So really think about how you and your partner approach conflict, like Julie said, and approach the tough times. Because during the easy times, during the fun times, you're always with the right one. one because it's
Right.
fun.
Well, I think that's a really good point too, is like as a relationship progresses, there's more and more of these life moments, like how do you feel? We call it the Sunday test. When you're doing absolutely nothing on a Sunday, you're just sitting on that couch. How do you feel when it's not like the new restaurant or the hot bar, like whatever, like something that's more of that external stimulus going on? I think that's a really good benchmark too. Can you just talk about anything? Like, does it have to feel on all the time? Those are all really important traits to look for when you're evaluating if this person could be it for the long haul. So I'm not going to use the word the one.
Yeah, there is no the one. There's so many. There's so many people who could be compatible for you. There's also so many people who could be bad for you. And the point of dating is not to find just the one, is to find someone who's willing to do life with you and willing to confront conflicts with you. And that's not everybody. That's why I guess maybe that's why we call it the one, because so few people are willing to go through this. So when you do find someone who's willing to, I guess you can call that quote unquote the one.
Yeah, I think it's committing every day, right? Just committing to being together and to doing what you need to do and being there for that person. And if you see that, that is a sign that you're with the right person. And, there's so many signs. I think I'd rather this listener reframe it instead of the one signs I'm with the right person. And, that can be like, do I feel like myself with this person? Do I feel like they support me? Like things that are essential in a partnership.
And maybe that's a good checklist that we can all make right now. If you are with your friends at brunch, maybe just make a list of all the things that you want to feel around the right person. And for me on that list is I want to feel desired. I want to feel respected. I want to feel safe. I want to feel seen. I want to feel confident. I want to feel beautiful. That's already 6 right there.
Yep. Don't worry. I have it in my notes of my phone. Exactly my list.
Oh,
because I think I was like, let me pull it up right now. But I think this is really important because it helps you focus on the good things about someone. It's easy to like let your mind wander of, could they do this a little differently? Or is there someone out there that would do this in a way that makes more sense to me? But how can we start to just focus on what's good about the person? And I think having it in your actual phone as a list item.
Such a good idea.
I think, I think the ones I have is like support, like to feel supported, like whether that's, professionally or even just in everyday life, like a partner to go through life with, cared for, someone that, I know has my best interests in mind and wants to be there for me, intellectually satisfied. Like I can talk to them about anything and everything, that they're like my best friend, that friendship is at the core of it. Those are some of the ones on my list. Safe and secure, have a true partner, content, like feeling content, at ease. And that I can be my true self. That's my list.
That's a great list. What an awesome idea to keep in your phone. All I have is my grocery list on my phone, so I'm going to have to reshift my priorities a little bit. But that's a great reminder.
Yeah, and I think like for people that don't have a partner, making that list ahead of time, not making the list of their 6 feet or their, a slim build or whatever, like those lists we don't need to build. But like having a list of like what you want to feel with this person is essential to help you be objective when you're dating. But then for people that have that partner, to remind you of like what this person brings to your life. Or, if you're really feeling like some of these items are falling short, that's something you work together to create. And then if you really can't create it, then that's a sign that you're not with the right person, not that there's another one that's out there, that you are doing what you can, communicating what you need to, your needs, and, seeing if they meet you and want to work with you and commit to it together.
And if you haven't been in that many relationships or haven't dated that much, think about the 3 people in your life you're closest to, where you love being around, and then think about why you like being around them. How do they make you feel? I love being around my mom because I feel like she supports me no matter what. That unconditional love is there, and she's freaking hilarious. So she makes me laugh. So think about not just the the romantic relationships, but just the people you surround yourself with, those are the characteristics that you're really looking for combined in your ideal partner.
I love that. I love that because like I think so often we put this, emphasis on the romantic partner that this person needs to be X, Y, and Z. And like sometimes it's not even stuff that we actually need in a partner.
No.
Like it's things that we've been told or make an attractive partner. But if you actually look at like the people you surround yourself and your friends and family, maybe they don't even have those traits, but that doesn't make them less people. And that's what you can really use as your North Star of things that matter. That is what makes you feel good in the company of others.
Having that list keeps it real for you. I just think about the guy I thought was the one for me, and my mom called me and said, would you really want to be with someone who does not return your text messages?
Right.
Who does not want to commit to you, who does not want to do this or does not want to do that. And it was such a rude awakening for me to think, why did I even think this person would be the one for me? They'd be a terrible partner to me. So having that list as your North Star really is a good gut check so you don't derail yourself from your entire love experience.
I so wish I had this list when I was
too.
so hung up on the fact that my ex was the one, because the safe and secure, like there, the fact that it was an on again, off again relationship should tell you all, right?
Yep.
That is the definition of not safe and secure. And I think recognizing that, instead of, we get so attached to the story, especially if you had a meet cute and there's this whole thing around it. I definitely got attached to the story that we had. And I mean, even the on again, off again, there's these tropes. Love is not like a Disney movie where you're like fighting a battle to like win over this person. It shouldn't be this tumultuous, like, peaks and valleys type story, like a hero's journey. Like, this is your love life. Like it doesn't need to be that way. But I think we get so caught in what we think it should be like that we don't recognize when things are just safe and secure and calm and peaceful. All the things that actually really matter.
Yeah, that's a good parting note for everyone. Even if you feel like you found the one or you kind of know what you're looking for in the one, it's good to always remind yourself why you're dating in the first place.
Yes.
Why are you in relationships? Why do you want to be in relationships? It's not for the storyline, or I hope it's not for the storyline. The storyline is fun, but it only goes so far and it does not carry you through life. I hope that most of us want to be in relationships because we want to share our lives with someone. We want to find someone who is always on our side, our biggest cheerleader, and then we can conquer the world together. Like, to me, that's like the ultimate hero story of being with someone. And that's where love really flourishes, is when you're with someone, you're like, this person's got my back. No matter what, they've got my back. And just that constant reminder of why the fuck are we doing this in the first place is good.
Yeah. No, I think that's super helpful. And I hope for this listener that wrote in, we can, one, reframe what the one is.
Yep.
So that's first and foremost. And second is like, can there just be a gut check that what's important to you and what is your why for this relationship? If all of that checks out and you feel good today, because that's all you can control, then you are with the right person and you can keep going, hopefully for the long haul. But if that changes, then you address it then, like that's all you can really do.
I encourage you to tell your partner too. Let them know.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be one-sided. Hey, I'm feeling like you're really good for me. Do you feel that way too? How can we better support each other? This is an ongoing discussion. We're not just sitting back judging someone and like, oh, he didn't take out the trash. Not the one.
Yeah.
No, we gotta communicate.
And especially if you haven't had a lot of relationship experience, you can bring it to that as like, hey, like this is where this is coming from. Like, I just don't know, and like let that person be there with you on this journey. Like that's part of it. And like we said, we've heard of a lot of people, this relationship experience. I feel like this continues to be something that's always brought up. And, in today's world, when we are kind of putting relationships a little on the back burner sometimes for school and careers and building a life outside of relationships, oftentimes we do find ourselves at one point of being like, fuck, fuck, I'm in my first relationship and I'm way older than I thought I was going to be. It's not high school anymore. It's my 20s or 30s or 40s or whatever. And I think it's easy to be like, I'm behind. I don't know how to be in relationships. This isn't something I do. But that's just a story you're telling yourself. For whatever reason, your life unraveled in a certain way, and that doesn't make you more or less capable of being in a relationship than anyone that's been in hundreds of relationships.
Yep. Wonderful. Well, thanks for sending in that question. We hope you all are having a wonderful brunch. And again, let's keep this going. We love the questions coming in. You can email us hello@dateablepodcast.com or find us on Instagram, DM us at dateablepodcast. We check that quite often. Or you can, I don't know, drop a line in our Facebook community. Love in the Time of Corona by the Dateable Podcast. Come on, let's keep that going too. You can reach us in so many different places, but we know you have burning questions. So ask. Ask away.
And remember to subscribe in case brunch is early next week.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise. All right, we're going to wrap up this episode. See y'all next week for a brunch talk.
See you next week.
The Dateable Podcast is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts.
Want to continue the conversation? First, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter with the handle @DateablePodcast. Tag us in any post with the hashtag StayDateable, and trust us, we look at all of those posts. Then head over to our website, dateablepodcast.com. There you'll find all the episodes as well as articles, videos, and our coaching service with vetted industry experts. You can also find our premium Why series where we dissect, analyze, and offer solutions to some of the most common dating conundrums. We're also downloadable for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Overcast, Stitcher Radio, and other podcast platforms. Your feedback is valuable to us, so don't forget to leave us a review. And most importantly, remember to stay dateable.